Hi, this is Lance, and welcome to the video synopsis for Chapter 5. This chapter is titled Lakeland. Lakeland is my hometown. It's the home to my wife, Kim. That's where we met each other in the first grade. Graduated high school together, and 4 generations of my Edwards family have resided in Lakeland. My maternal side have been all around the area. The Porter families all came around Bartow and Fort Meade, which is all in the Lakeland area. Lakeland is a scant 25 miles from where my 4-time great-grandfather settled in 1848, one of the early Florida pioneers at Alderman's Ford. And Lakeland has a number of distinctions. We talk about, in Chapter 2, we talk about citrus. Lakeland was, at one point, the citrus capital of the world. In Chapter 3, I introduced you to phosphate industry. Lakeland's at the heart of the phosphate industry there in Central Florida. And Lakeland was started in the 1880s. This is about 35 years after Florida had already been declared a state. And where it grew, and I got to apologize, there's a lot of construction going on back here, but when Lakeland grew with the 1920s land boom across Florida, that brought the Porter side of my family. They moved from Missouri to Central Florida, in the Lakeland area, Bartow and Fort Meade for construction. The Grand Dame, Nana, who I introduced you to, her father came down in the 20s, also in construction from Connecticut. And matter of fact, in order to pay for her college education at Florida Southern College in Lakeland, my great-grandfather Edward Wood put the roof on Spivey Hall at Florida Southern College as a barter in exchange for tuition for my grandmother, Nana. So a lot of connections there in Lakeland. Also in the chapter we talk about, when you live in a place called Lakeland, there's a lot of lakes, a lot of water activities. We talk about that. I also introduce you to Cypress Gardens, one of the famous, quote, roadside attractions. It's no longer there. But one of the main attractions there was something called the Florida Pool, which is still there at Legoland, and the Southern Bells there. And I tell you some interesting facts that connect that Florida Pool to my good friend Paul Templin's family in Lakeland, who built that Florida Pool at Cypress Gardens. So I share that story in there as well. One of the things we talk about in there is Old Dixie Highway, which was built during the 30s. It brought people to Florida from Michigan and Chicago. It's what opened the state up and really led to the roadside attractions that we used to enjoy the 60s and 70s, all the period before then. And also, when you read this chapter, I want you to notice something. I'm not going to give it away, but there's a puzzle in there that I want you to figure out what is wrong with this picture. And you'll see that when you read Chapter 5. It's Lakeland. It's my hometown.